Hello everyone, how you doing? You're very welcome to this week's Hurling What's the Score with myself, Aidan and Raftery, and of course the show is as always kindly sponsored by Kilbride Community Centre and Village Shop. And as always, we have former Limerick Senior Hurler Andrew O'Shaughnessy to take us all through all things hurling. Hello Andrew, how are you? Are you well?
I'm good, Aidan. Thank you very much. And yourself?
Not too bad. No, not too bad. Yeah, the club championship in hurling is gathering pace now. I think it's getting in most of the counties. It's kind of out of the group stages now and into the knockout. I suppose when you look across the board, obviously Wexford, like what we were saying, that county championship has been decided. The Tipperary is getting to an advanced stage. Yeah, it's really all kicking off now. It's kind of in the knockout stages now. But I suppose we'll start off in your own county in Limerick.
Yeah, so it's getting, as you said, it's getting to knockout stages. So Wexford and Waterford are finished. They have the county champions. Limerick are into the still in the last group stages, one round to go. But we know who the semi-finalists are in the Piercy and Camalck. They're the top two, and then we'll be quarterfinals. We're not too sure the entirely to set up the quarterfinals. But again, you have who are already Mungret are through. Then you have the likes of Adair are doing okay, but lost the match they should have won against Mungret. Then you've other teams like Duell being in the quarterfinals. You expect them to get through to the semi-finals. So again, as I said, throughout the year, it's going to be in the Piercy, Camalloch, Duell, and whoever was going to win that other quarterfinal slot. You're looking at Mungo and Doon. Again, you're probably going to go for Doon, so there won't be much change. I think the semi-finals for Limerick will be as expected. Duell, Doon to meet Camalloch and Piercy.
That's it. And so I suppose really looking at your own club, Kilmallock, you're happy with their form. I suppose how they've been doing in the league and the championship so far. What are your thoughts on Kilmallock?
Yeah, well, Camalloch probably are out of all the clubs in Limerick. They're the form team at the moment. They've won 4 from 4, similar enough to when the Piercy have lost one. So Camalloch have the only team undefeated in the senior championship, senior A championship. So they are showing good form. You'd be always worried showing too much good form too early. So their last match is against the Piercy. It's a dead rubber. Both teams are qualified for semi final already. So whether a team goes strong against each other, I'm not too sure. They kind of play devil's advocate and just put out a kind of don't put much focus on the win as opposed to performance. I'm not too sure what way you do because either way, it's hard enough for Camalloch to beat Napier twice in 1 year, and similar enough, it'd be hard enough for Napier to beat Camalloch twice in 1 year. So you put out a dummy team or not, I'm not too sure to do that at the club, but we'll see. Like I wouldn't be paying too much heed to the result in that match when it does happen.
And I suppose really it's a reflection of the county or the All Ireland Championship as well. At inter-county level, because sometimes you can play a team twice, in the championship, and maybe once or twice in the league. I suppose that kind of happened with Tipperary. You played them in the league part of the league, and then the league semi final, and then you played them in the championship as well. So it's kind of nearly familiarity breeds contempt
Breeze,
in a sense.
that's ex- that's exactly it. Like so, you can meet a team as many times as you want a year. You can beat them 10 times out of 11, but if the 11th is a knockout one, that's the only one you need to win. So it doesn't actually matter if you lose during the year. Once you keep progressing and you're keeping the championship, and then it's the knockout matches you want to win. So if you get to quarterfinal, semi-final, final, they're the matches you want to win because if you had beaten a team 6, 7 points earlier on in the championship and you lose them in the semi final by a point, that's no consolation to the team or the club. So it's the knockout ones went to win. And that's why for the last round in Limerick, particularly, and specifically the Piercy Camalcolm match, the result doesn't really matter because both are qualified. It's just when they do, if and when they do meet again, that's when the result that matters.
And of course, like we said as well, I suppose the next up then is Cork, a complicated championship, but that's tipping along nicely as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So we're into the semi-final stages of that Cork Championship. The big surprise from last weekend is the Glen losing their relegation playoff. The Glen, who were in the county final 2 years ago against Midland, they're like, and everyone would have seen it. They're 97 years senior hurling club. They're the second most successful team in Cork behind the Bars or behind Brock Rock, sorry. And they're a fantastic club. And for them to be relegated, I know all down to senior B, but still they're out of top flight. So that's the big talking point from the weekend in Cork. We're into the semi-final stage, as I kind of half predicted. Well, I did predict kind of Sarsies are still there. They're going to play Immacully in the semi-final, and then the other.
There you go, folks. You heard the prediction first here on Hurling. What's the score from that?
Yeah, yeah. So like in Cork, then we're into semi-final. Stars are playing Immacully, and the other semi-final then. Who's in the other team? Sorry, it's the Bars and Middleton. So again, they're good hurling matches. So it's hard to choose from but at this outset, like they're all very, very strong. So I wouldn't be surprised if it could be Stars and Midland final. They had one of those finals a few years ago. They've been the form teams, but again, Bars are the reigning champions. So, but it's always tough to do back to back in your county. So we'll see who comes through those. They're not on for another. They're on next week actually. So it'll be interesting to see.
And of course, I suppose it's similar, like what we've often said about the Galway Championship. The Galway Championship is always very tough and very competitive. So is the Cork Championship as well. Like, you know, when you think of the amount of senior teams and things like that, and you know, I don't think it's too often in Cork that the same team wins 2 years in a row. I'm not saying it has never happened. I mean, Newtown Chandram used to be good years ago as well. But it's very rare to come out 2 or 3 years in a row. I know in Roscommon now it's been Four Roads are nearly the kingpins. You know, they're the bar that's set in Roscommon. But Cork is a very tough championship, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rare to do back to back especially in a strong hurling county. It's very rare to do back to back, and especially in Cork because there's so many senior clubs. It's difficult enough to do. I know Newtown did it, and I know Sarah's did it once or twice. And again, Rockies are going to be back there. They're trying to do it. It's tough. Like the Bears have a great chance of doing back to back, but they're doing all they can do is win the matches. They're in the semi final. It's in their own hands. They'll fully believe after they were unlucky in Munster last year. They have a great chance of doing back to back, and they'll be eyeing Munster as well. But that's the fallacy of club championship. If you look towards too much ambition, you look towards the Munster Championship or the provincial championship, you could get caught up in the semi-final or final in your own county. So that's the key. Like, you cannot win a provincial championship unless you win your own county, and Bars be well aware of that. And they seem to be the form team at the moment. But again, all those 3 teams left are very, very strong.
And of course, we can't talk about Waterford because they've Ballygunner have come out of that, and they're just waiting for the Munster Club Championship to start. So that brings us on to another tough, another very interesting round of quarter-final matches in Tipperary there last weekend, and some very interesting ties in the semi-final now as well as a result.
Yeah, so my team that I've been predicting all along are still there. Toomey Vard going well. So they good win over County Rossmore. It was 320 to 124. They won. So they're tipping along. They're still my tip based on nothing but a holiday that I had. I met someone from Toomevera. The favourites then, like it's
doing you good. It's not doing you too bad so far anyway. You know, it's a good reason for.
Yeah, so there's going to be a good, that's for sure. But a good semi-final. So Lockmore, Castleiney, who are the clear favourites, the people's favourites, did a great final last year with Turles Stars. They're meeting again Turles Stars in the semi-final. So it'd be foolish for people to say the winner is more likely to come out of that side of the group. But again, you cannot write at this stage. Everyone thinks if you're in the semi-final, you think you're going to win. So that's going to be a good match, Castleiney and Turles Stars. And then the other semi-final, it's Killadangan and Toomevara again. Killadangan have won it recently enough. Toomevara, of that group of teams, haven't won it the longest waiting. They're waiting a good length of time. But again, as I think they're the coming team. So I'm sticking with them, even though I wouldn't be surprised if any other 3 minutes. It's just so close in Tipperary. But it should be good viewing, all right, that for sure.
And I suppose you just mentioned there about Turles Stars, and Turles Stars has met this team already. In the group stages, obviously this is the knockout. So who would have learned more out of the group match? I know it's a totally different match, but who do you think between the 2 teams will be going into this game with the happier, or have learned more from the group game?
It's always the same. Like, if you win the group game and you meet the same team again, you would say, right, we've beaten them once already. We know we have their number. We know we'll do exactly the same thing and we'll win. And then if you're the team that lost, you're saying, right, we played them already. We didn't do A, B, C right, but we know we can do it. So they won't improve that much, but we will, and we know where to improve it, and we get them back. So it's all you can't tell until the match is over, and then you can say, right, now we see it. But again, like, it's, if you feel you were close to them and you lost already, you know where you can improve. But if you won, it's very hard to improve when you win. So you might give the advantage to the team that lost, but again, it's hard. Like, it's near impossible to call.
That's it, and I suppose when you meet the team the second time, if you've won the first time, it's kind of, it's going to be a tougher game, because as you said, the team that lost in the group stages, they're going to have up the bar. But so it is a very interesting semi-final now in Tip, isn't it? And there's, as you said, your team there, Clonalty are still in, or no, Toomevara are still there.
Toomevara, yeah.
Timmy Vara and all that. So it's they're always tough teams to beat. But I suppose look at in any county championship, if you want to win a county final, you have to beat the best. And there's a lot of good teams in that semi final. They're all very good teams, and that's the way it is at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, and particularly Cork and Tipperary now, the semi-finalists, they're made up of traditional strong teams. Even in Cork, you've Imakilly, the Division East Cork team, are in it. They're traditionally the strong divisional team in Cork. So it's great to see. Obviously, you want a board to come in and say progress in a club, get to semi-finals, but it's great to see four traditional clubs in those counties contesting semi-finals. So it all goes well for the club championship, and dare I say it should go well for the county setup then on the back of that when they go back to the county trend.
And of course, moving on to Clare as well now. Obviously, years ago when Clare were winning All Irelands, like there was like teams like O'Callaghan's Mill, St. Joseph's, Dura Bearfield, all these teams, and like James O'Connor was playing for them, the Sparrow and all those. But now it's like kind of like Cratloe and kind of other teams, isn't it? Fecal, all those kind of teams. Now it's
Cratloe,
dynamic
Fecal,
change.
Crusheen, yeah, all those teams, and it used to be, as you just said, Dora Bearfield, Wolf Tones, 6 Mile Bridge, all these traditional teams that did very well in Munster. And again, that comes from, if you do well with your club, you're going to bring that performance and confidence into the county setup. And you saw that with the Clare teams in the 90s. That was certainly the case. But again, Clare Championship this year, as I'm saying, it's down to Fecal or not Fecal, sorry. Ballyea, they're the clear favourites again because they have a group dynamic, and with club teams particularly, if you get a good group together for a small period of time, you could win 2 to 3 to 4 county titles just based on a 5 to 6 year period, because you have a group that are believing they can win, and they just go back every year on, and they'll win, and then eventually time will catch up, unfortunately, and a club team, say like Ballyea, I'm not saying it will happen to them, but it'll be hard to replicate that performance and bring those other players to that quality through. So they'll probably fall off in 2-3 years, maybe. We'll see.
And of course, you see with Ballyea as well, obviously you have Tony Kelly, class player, nearly unplayable, really. We've seen it at county level. You've seen it, Limerick has seen it at county level in Munster as well, last year more specifically as well. He is unmarkable. He is a class player, very hard to kind of mark. But I suppose, the test of a good team, and this is a very good Ballyea team, but, do you feel that if you were to take him out of it, they'd still be a good quality team and they'd still come out on top even without Tony Kelly? Or, like, I know he's the player that makes them tick, but, overall, if he was injured or if he was suspended, they still have the quality to to win a game, especially like in the knockout stages now, and then I suppose later on when it goes into Munster.
Yeah, like Tony Kelly, as you said, he's unmarkable unless you do like Kilkenny do and actually put a man to mark him. So it's different. It's grand if you don't pick a man to pick him up and just say, okay, forget about your own game, just focus on Tony. Then you can limit his effect that case. But that's what teams what they do with Ballyea. If you focus in the club championship in Clare, if you focus on him, that leaves space for other club players that you mightn't be focused on to give them more space. So by stopping Tony Kelly and by following him in club games specifically, you're creating space for other club players who are just as good not just as good, obviously, who are just a good player and offer something to the team, and then more space to get the scores that Tony Kelly wouldn't get. And then when they start getting the scores, you obviously have to come back to them and mark them, and that clears up the space for Tony, and he'll pop scores over there and inspiration scores that just galvanise and lift him.
And I suppose an analogy to use there, that one, I suppose would be like with the Irish rugby team. We've seen over the years with Johnny Sexton, world class player, and he's an unreal player for Ireland and has been. But to the extent that it got to the stage where other countries, when they play Ireland, to the extent that if we are to have any chance of beating Ireland, we need to take him out of it. It's kind of the same with Tony Kelly. People like there's a target on his back the minute he goes out playing, be it county level or club level. But that's what happens when you're a top player, isn't it?
That comes with the territory. He'd be expecting that, so he'd be expected to be marked and constantly be marked. And he's used to it at this stage. The slight difference between hurling and rugby, obviously, if you want chagging a 10 in rugby, you can just constantly run down his channel. And if you don't get him the first 1 or 2 times, you'll eventually target him, isolate him, and just go through him and just try to cause injury, which I'm not saying you should be doing for hurling under no circumstance. But ideally, if you're setting up to Mark 20 Kelly or they're the best player on the opposition team, you obviously have to target him and put a player on him and just stop the ball getting to him into his hand or anybody's hand, because that's how you limit a player's effect on the game. If he can't get the ball, he can't affect the game. So that's the best way to mark someone like that.
But would you go as far as maybe double marking him, or just one good player on him and just try to get to the ball first every time? Because I suppose there will be a percentage of the time where he'll get to the ball first, but he'd make hay while the sun shines. So whatever possession he does get, very rarely will he miss. So when he does get the ball, he makes it count.
Yeah, there's two ways you could look at that. There's ideally you put on a player that can out hurl him, as in who attacks the ball, gets the ball in his hand, because it's very hard and frustrating as a forward if the fella you're marking getting the ball before you and hurls it out. It's grand being on a mulker, standing and kicking you, that's fine because you're used to that. But it's very embarrassing to a certain extent that if you're on a lad and he actually just forgets about you and just goes and hurls you, that's very, very hard. And then the opposite, what you could do, you could just literally put your fittest player on him and say, just follow him and keep running, just break the ball. Don't worry about hurling, just break the ball and we get the breaks. Again, you only know these things after they work, if they work or not, and you only get that by trying them.
And you can't say, oh well, I'll beat him on the ground by playing ground hurling, or I'll beat him in the, because he's good in every aspect of hurling. So it's he's not going to be an easy man to mark either way. But I suppose you mentioned teams like 6 Mile Bridge and things like that, and it is a very interesting. It is a very interesting championship, but I suppose, like you said there, it's hard to see beyond Ballyea, but there are some good teams there, but Ballyea will be the top, the tip, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Ballyea and maybe Aero in it as well from last year. They were very unlucky in the county final, and Shane O'Donnell has been superb all year for Clare and for the club as well. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they cause an upset, but they wouldn't see it as an upset. So I might tip away from Ballyea and go for Aero.
That's it, yeah. But might as well go against the grain. It can happen. I mean, yeah. But I suppose that takes us over to Leinster then. And look, obviously, we've said Wexford that's decided. They're frustratingly waiting for the first round of the Leinster Championship. Obviously, there's Galway is up next. They're tipping away, very competitive. Interesting championship. What are your thoughts now on the next round? The next round of games in Galway.
I don't think anyone's talking about the hurling go. Everyone's still talking about Johnny Glynn and seeing is there anything going to come out of that? Whether the CCC do something on that or not, I'm not too sure. But that seems to be the main talking point at the moment. But again, Galway Championship is notoriously tough for years. We know that because it has to be so tough. Because as I say, if you come out of Galway, invariably you are in an All Ireland semi-final, so you have a great chance of winning the All Ireland with 2 more matches. So that's why it's so tough and vigorous and hard to get out of Galway. But again, like you just look at the clubs again. I keep tipping Bridge just for the reason that a friend of mine is training them. They won't be far off it. But again, St. Thomas's are the clear and obvious choice. So it could be St. Thomas's Bridge final, but we'll see.
And of course, in previous years, was always Athenry were always very good as well. Portumna, those kind of teams as well. But yeah, it's usually between St. Thomas's are usually the main favourites to come out.
Yeah, so it's in the quarterfinal stage there. So you've Ormore Mary are playing Sarsies, St. Thomas's they're playing Capitagle, Loughrea have Bridge, and then you Castlegar, Turlock Moore. So they're some traditional names and some new names. So it's hard. Stand out there. I saw the Sarsies game which Johnny Gillen was playing opposite team. They're hurling well. Thomas's Capitagle are quite tough. So that might be a tough battle for Thomas to come over, but I expect him to get over that. Loughrea are always you're talking about physical Galway teams. They don't come much more physical than Loughrea, but they mix that up with a nice style of hurling again. And so against Clanbridge, that'd be an interesting game. I expect Clanbridge to come out of that. And then Castlegar and Turlockmore. Castlegar, a leading club in Galway for years, they've been down in the dumps. Well, not the dumps, they've been not in the main headlines for a while. They could be coming again. They seem to have a form. You see Ger Farher still shooting out the lights, 40-year-old still shooting out the lights for Castlegar. So anything is possible. But again, I'm just drawn to Thomas's and Clanbridge for some reason.
And of course, Castlegar, you were just saying Ger Farrer there. Remember him as a county minor? Genie, he was unreal, wasn't he?
He was okay, yeah, he was. He's good, yeah. He was. Good man for sidelines.
That's it. And moving on to Kilkenny, of course, you know, a lot of people's favourites will be Ballyhale Shamrocks, and it's kind of very hard to come away from them. You know, are there any really? It's kind of like Waterford in a sense. Yeah, okay, there might be one or two other teams, but it's hard to get away. It's hard to get away from Ballyhale Shamrocks, isn't it, for to tip them?
Yeah, Ballyhale Shamrocks, they were in a relegation final last week. Would you believe? It's hard to believe, but then in the Kilkenny Championship, if you win that, you get back in the Championship, and they have been in that relegation final before, and they've gone on and won the Club All Ireland. Like, so there's no question they're back in that Championship. So they're still going to be favourites no matter where they were, because the quality of players they have, it's hard to back against them. But again, you've the likes of Dixborough and there's loads of clubs in Kilkenny that, like Waterford or any team that you want to knock out, Ballygun or whatever, any team you want to knock off, there's no point beating them earlier on in the Championship. It's from here on in you want to beat them. So if they're going to be caught, Ballyhale, the best place to catch them is a semi-final or final. But I think that's more hope than anything.
That's it. And of course, moving on then to Dublin, of course, you know, I think there's been a bit of a shake up in the championship. You know, a lot of people's favourites maybe would have been Coola, as we said last week or the week before. They're gone now as well. Kilmacud Crokes are really shooting out the lights in the last couple of years, getting to finals as well. There's some good teams there, and it could be any one of them that comes out. I suppose it's similar to you know other championships that it's very hard to come out of as well, given the amount of teams and the quality of clubs in the championship in Dublin.
Yeah, so I wrongly said Cooler were gone. They got beaten when their last matches, but that was knockout. That was still group stages, so
Oh, right.
they're still in the quarterfinal stages. So in that quarterfinal stages, Kilmacud are in the quarterfinals. They're playing the Fina again. Two strong football teams, but equally two stronger hurling teams in Dublin. You'd be expecting Kilmacud to come through that, and Ballyboden St Enda's, who's my other favourite, they're playing Cool in the quarterfinals. So again, it's a toss up. So the three I mentioned at the start of the year was Kilmacud, Ballyboden, and Coola. They're all the quarterfinals. Equally, quarterfinals sometimes is no harm because it gives you an extra match to get back into up to championship pace. So any one of those can still win it. And then in the semi-finals, Luke and Sarces are a bit of a bolter themselves in St. Vincent's and the semi-finals already. So Luke and Sarces, there's a fellow that was down at the hurling camp last week with me playing for them, and he's saying they're moving quite well, and he hurled quite well last week. So they wouldn't be a bad bet if you're going for someone outside of the three we mentioned. So if I'm being bold for a final, I'm going to go Luke and Sarces in the final against Coola.
Yeah, because I suppose to be fair though, Luke and Sarsfields, and you're right because I mean over the last couple of years in the Dublin Championship, they have been improving each year, and this could be their year to get to the final. Will they win it or will they not? Maybe they might lose it this year, maybe and win it next year. But I suppose you know the way the Dublin Championship is. You know, you get to the final this year, you might not get to it next year, so you have to kind of take advantage of it when you get there. You know.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, that's it. And I suppose moving on to Offaly, then, like we said, you know, when you see the Offaly Championship, you know, it's so fantastic. Some great teams, a high quality championship. And when you compare that to where their county team is, but you have to say, I suppose, Offaly, the county team kind of aren't too far away. Hopefully, you'd like to think from getting back into the Leinster Championship, but in the championship that they're in at the moment, there are some good teams. But yeah, Offaly is always throws up brilliant games, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the club champions in Offaly defy logic because they're outperforming. Their performances in Leinster are quite good compared to their county team. So that's kind of a bit of an anomaly. So if you're looking again, Offaly used to be always looked border team, but now it's Kilcormac, Killahey, and they're the favourites this year. So I'd be slow enough to go away for them. So we'll see after this next round of matches how it's faring up. But they'd be my tip for Offaly.
Yeah, and I suppose right. So I mean, all in all, it has been a very interesting championship so far across you know in all the counties. We say the group stages now, and it's good to see it now in the knockout. I suppose it's not until the knockout that the real hurling begins, isn't it? With all due respect to the group stages.
That's exactly. It's when you turn on TNG on a Sunday and you see the county finals and you log on and you watch it. That's when it really starts. That's when you see the representation of what has gone on in the club championship in that county for the year, and hopefully it'll go well. So that's all we can hope for is good performances when teams actually get to the final, that they do themselves justice and they're proud of their performance.
That's it. Well, listen, thanks very much for taking the time out to do Hurling What's the Score with us, and we look forward to looking back on those games next week.
Thanks, Aidan.
No problem. Thanks very much. And that was Andrew O'Shaughnessy, the former Limerick Senior Hurler, and myself talking about all things hurling.